To my melanated family and spiritually conscious brothers and sisters around the world, I am Brother Tommy, and it's time to get it in. One love, family. Today we are going to discuss the conflict that is going on amongst Black Americans and Africans and Caribbeans that come to the United States as immigrants. We're going to discuss what the issue is. We're going to watch several videos and interviews showing the conflict from different standpoints, how Africans feel, how Black Americans feel, how people from the Caribbean feel, to kind of get an idea of what's going on. And from my standpoint, I think that it is a mistake that we're having this level of conflict amongst each other. Yeah, it is important that we get our lineages straight in terms of the lineages in different lands, that Black Americans are not slaves from Africa or from anywhere else, that their lineage is here and you have an ancient lineage in your ancient land. So we need to get that straight. So we have no issues with that. But instead of talking about the things that white nations are talking about, ways to become economic partners, trading partners, allies, those are the things that we should be talking about. Instead, we're sitting here fighting with each other, grasping for the master's crumbs that are on the table, and we're not even speaking about how we can become trading partners, how African countries have an economy. Black Americans in America have an economy, Jamaicans, Trinidadians, everybody has an economy. And in order for your economy to grow, you need to be able to produce raw products and sell them to people that, are willing to support you. So we're sitting here arguing and fussing with each other about how Black Americans feel, how Caribbean people feel, how people from Africa feel, as opposed to saying, how come we're not producing computers on a mass scale and selling them to each other as an economic trading partner? Cars, how come we're not, as melanated people, having plants and industries where we produce the best and finest cars and we can sell them to each other in an economic partnership, just like Europe and the United States is doing in other countries? In terms of smartphones, major industries, we could be partnering when it comes to melanated people globally, but instead of that, we're arguing and fussing and really, really honing in on the differences between us. So yes, there are differences between us, and there's a lot of things that are being misunderstood, and we have to dig deep into it before we get to the root of it. And we have to be able to open ourselves up and see it from both sides. Colonization, white supremacy, white aggression is a global structure. It's a global concept. So you have people being mistreated on a global scale. So we should not juxtapose our struggle versus their struggle, or their struggle versus ours. We all have the same issue, which is a colonizer with his foot on our necks. So let's look at the different perspectives, how different people are feeling. We'll talk back and forth about solutions, but as opposed to talking about being trading and economic partners, we're talking about issues that we're having back and forth. But let's check it out. Here we go.
You know what's fucked up? African people don't like Black people. Y'all know they treat us like shit. They talk down to us. They think they better than us. And I don't understand, because we from the same tribe, kind of. But they like white people, though. They treat y'all like family. As soon as y'all come around, they get excited. Excuse me, Mr. White Man. Thank you for bringing us here. We love you. Yeah, the white man. As soon as they see us, they get an attitude. Hey, how you doing? This nigga. We don't like the Black man in America. Motherfucker, you don't work, you don't do shit. We don't like you, you black motherfucker. Like, who are you calling black, motherfucker? I'm brown, you midnight. Who the fuck are you calling black? Like, nigga, if you stood up against a building, you'd look like an alley. Who the fuck are you calling black? This shit is unjust. African men don't understand why when they come to America, they have a hard time getting American pussy. You can't be that aggressive with American women, especially black women. You gotta know how to talk. You gotta come correct. Motherfuckers in Africa is used to having their way. They got 15 wives and shit. And African women are very obedient. They tell their women what to do. It's not even an issue. Bitch, when they come home, you... I don't know why they do that. You better clean this shit from the floor. I don't... They be in the club stalking women out here. You can't even see them. They be as black as my jacket. You just see the yellow of their eyes from a distance. Looking like Congo in the bush. As soon as you go buy your drink, they jump out the shadows and scare the shit out you. Bitch, what is your name? Come here. Don't run from me. You're going to be my wife. Monaya, Monaya. They're hunters. It's instant.
The two of you against the white guy. All right? And you have to pick out where people are from. Are they African, Caribbean, or African American, meaning North American? Caribbean? You guys say Caribbean? All right, her? She's not African. She's, okay, this guy? Wait, hang on. Hang on, make sure you can get her. Wait, stand off to the side just a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, what are you looking for? So you're you're African in ancestry.
Yes.
What are you looking for to see if someone's African or American, let's say?
I don't want to say African. I want to say like from the Caribbean, probably Jamaica somewhere.
Caribbean. And her?
She says she's from South Africa.
What's that?
She says she's from South Africa.
Oh, she's got to be from South Africa.
Either African American or Caribbean.
African American or Caribbean?
Yeah. African American.
African American? And her?
She said the Haitian.
I know.
You're going Haitian, Caribbean?
She
All
said,
right.
she said she didn't say that.
I'm just gonna go rapid fire. I'm gonna guess you're African American. I think you're African as well.
Wait, why do you think he's African?
I'm
So
gonna
you're
say
saying this guy.
African because I think that from Africa, typically darker skin than African American is normally is a trait.
Okay, so you would say, so you identify as really dark skin. Yes, where's she from?
I'm also gonna say from Africa.
Africa? All right, her?
I'm gonna say from Africa because of South Africa.
Where's she from?
I'm gonna guess African American.
African American?
African American.
Where they're from, black is
Caribbean.
Janelle, from Ghana. Were you born in Ghana?
No.
Yep, born in the U.S.
Yes.
Both your parents are from Ghana.
Yes.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Friye. I'm from Nigeria. I was born there.
You said African American, by the way.
I'm from Trinidad. My dad is from Jamaica and Barbados. I was born here, though. My name is Kenny.
My name is Rashida. I'm from Nigeria. I was born there. And both of my parents are Nigerian. Like, my entire bloodline is Nigerian for the most part.
Yeah. All right.
I'm Catherine. Both my parents are from South Africa, but I was born in England.
Born in where?
In England.
In England? How'd you get to Penn State?
Because my mom was relocated from England to Pennsylvania.
I'm Kelsey. I'm African American and West Indian.
I'm Ariella. I'm Dominican and Haitian, so I'm from the Caribbean.
So who's Dominican and who's
My
Haitian?
mom's Dominican and my dad's Haitian, and my mom was born in Brooklyn, but then they sent her to DR, and my dad was born in Haiti, and then he came to the States.
So do you speak Creole or Spanish?
Yeah, I have to in my household. Yeah.
Both?
Yeah.
I'm Madison. Both of my parents are African American.
Both your parents are African American?
Yeah.
And where are they from? Like what part of the U.S.?
New Jersey and New York.
Yeah. Hey, so when you, let me just kick something out here, right? When you are, so this idea that people in the U.S. see people who are black, right? And just automatically, a lot of people, if they're not focused on race, if they're not focused on thinking about the issues, we see people and we just put them all together. Like, yo, you're black or you're African American or you're whatever, right? People, how do you identify?
As an African American.
As African American?
I'm African, but I'm also an American.
So you identify as, do you identify as Ghanaian American ever?
Ghanaian.
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 Yeah.
Ghanaian.
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 Yeah.
You don't identify as Ghanaian American? African?
Oh, I guess I could say that. Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense than what I said.
Mm-hmm. No, but how do you identify?
I just say like I'm African American, like I'm actually African and I was born in America.
I would also identify as an African American. I mean, I am from Africa, but I guess I'm a citizen of America. So
Do your parents are from Nigeria?
Yes.
But do they identify as Nigerian?
Yes.
Like strongly?
Yes.
So like not African American? Do they ever say we're African American, or do it's like no, we're Nigerian?
Yeah, they say they're Nigerian.
Yeah, got you. It's like this is the thing. Like you start learning the politics of these things, but you would say, you say African American.
Yeah.
What's that mean for you?
It just means that, like me, like I know like a lot of people, like African Americans in general, like black people say they're African American, and like that always confuses me. Sometimes it's like, well, are you really African American, or are you just like black? Like, of course, there's this like long line of ancestry where people who are born in America and are black are, I guess, because of slavery and that long line of ancestry, are considered African American. But I feel like for me, it should be more like a direct or more recent link.
Yeah.
So therefore, black people in America aren't technically really African American.
Yeah.
Like, it's really weird.
It's weird, right? Because you have, Madison, right?
Yeah.
So Madison, she's Nigerian American, African American, but you're African American, but you don't have the Nigerian side. Madison has a totally different experience than you do. As you as Nigerian American. And do your parents identify as Nigerian?
All of us are dual citizen, but they identify as Nigerian.
They say Nigerian.
Yeah.
Do they ever say African American?
No.
It's Nigerian. Do they ever say Nigerian American, or is it just that Nigerian?
It's Nigerian.
Yeah. So this is the thing, right? Like you understand. Like once you walk into this world, if you want to walk in, this is really complicated. You're trying to like, hey, I want to be cool. I want to be multicultural. I want to really try to understand these things. And then I meet your parents, and I say, oh, hey, so you're African American. And they're like, no, man, we're Nigerian. Oh, you're Nigerian American? No, we're Nigerian. Whereas then I go to your parents, right, or whatever, and then I think, oh, hang on, I can't call them African American. Like, I don't know what to call people. And then it just gets really, really confusing. And the point here is all of these confusions. And you, by the way, are Haitian and Dominican. Do you go by, what do you say? How do you refer to yourself?
Well, I was born in America.
Yeah.
And
do you identify as African American?
No. Well, I lie. I'm lying. Okay, systematically, yes, because that was the only box I had, like black. But like as I got older, I was like, but I'm not African American. So
you're also half Hispanic.
Yeah.
So that means. So Hispanic, meaning because the Dominican Republic derives its ancestry, like it's the language from Spain, right? Because Spain conquered France conquered Haiti. Mm-hmm. And so therefore you're black, mm-hmm. you're Hispanic, mm-hmm. you're Dominican, mm-hmm. you're African American.
We say Afro-Caribbean.
Afro-Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
So, and yet you're American and black. So people would call you African American, and you probably, would you say, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
Family, see, stuff like this here is some bull crap. This is why we have to teach our children the truth. And we have to sit down and have discussion with them that make them understand who they are and from whence they come. Here you have this white guy, or so-called white guy, really giving them the privilege of being white is a benefit, because they know that white doesn't apply to them. White is a color that signifies many different things. It doesn't apply to them as a people in terms of what their actual ethnic and nationality group is. You're looking at Vandals, Visigoth, Vikings, Irish, British, Germanic people. So for him to be walking around here recognizing that black people are confused, or so-called black people are confused about their origin, their history, their foundation, what they've been taught, he's making it seem like it's just preposterous to understand, you're black, you're American, but you're Nigerian, as if white folks don't have, or so-called white folks don't have these same issues. This is really sickening. But this is why we need to have a global melanated approach to where we recognize each other as family. You know, when you're dealing with an epoch where there was a lot of slavery going on, a lot of people did lose connections and ties to a true understanding of who they are and from whence they came. So that understanding definitely needs to be brought forth, and it is still ongoing because a lot of knowledge and information is still being uncovered. But we shouldn't be in a position to where this white supremacist could separate us and mistreat our young kids like this and make them feel insecure as if they're participating in some lack of understanding of each other, as if these things don't exist in their so-called white communities. This is sickening. This is why we need to have a global melanated response to white supremacy and the melanated family. We are a global family, and we need to understand that. No ifs, ands, and buts about it.
All right, so we got this dude, Presser. I don't know. I think that's Coyle Ray boyfriend. He made a tweet. I forgot how long ago this was, but he said Americans got no culture. Their biggest culture is hip hop. Motherfuckers don't even know what island they come from. Just black, like the color. So my first topic is, why do non-black Americans always say black Americans don't have culture?
Where's he from?
He's from Canada. I don't know exactly what like island or country he's from, but some West Indian. I'm not completely sure. Like,
What was the question again?
why do non-black Americans always say that black Americans don't have any culture?
I don't think it's like you guys don't have any culture. I just feel like you guys don't know your background, like where y'all really came from, like ancestry and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So you think? Oh, go ahead.
No, I think they do have a culture, like specifically Black Americans, like the food they eat on Thanksgiving, stuff like that. That's culture.
But that's not a culture because everybody eats food on Thanksgiving.
No, I mean the kind.
Oh,
yeah, like yams
like the
and
way
mac
they
and
celebrate it.
cheese
Like
and
it's
stuff.
certain stuff you see on Instagram. You know, that's just Black people, like Black American.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I wanted to bring this up because I do have this conversation a lot with Africans or even just Caribbean people who will often look down on Black Americans. Number one, they will say they lazy, they ghetto. I've heard African parents tell their kids not to date African American men, not to marry them, things of that nature. So I wanted to have this conversation because I want to know, where do y'all think that comes from? Why is that stereotype there with African Americans specifically?
I think.
Hey, what are some negative stereotypes y'all heard about Black Americans from your parents, from your friends?
You literally said it all.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like my mom would tell me not to marry an African American.
Yeah.
She says it all the time.
It's just the difference in the background.
Yeah, I'm
just
saying
on the
like
side.
deeper down, like into history and all that.
Yeah.
Like that all like contributes. Like why they be saying that?
Okay. What you guys say about this, Jew?
I mean, do y'all feel like, even though your mother's saying it, like I'm pretty sure you guys have friends that's like African American.
Yeah. I have my friends.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, does that have any effect on how you see Black people or relationships you can see? Like, you still wouldn't bring a Black dude home? I mean, an African American dude home?
Honestly, it depends because I think all of us, or most of us, were born and raised in America. So like they have to understand, like we grew up with them. Like that's, even though we have our culture and our background, we wasn't raised in Africa.
Right.
Yeah.
Like all I know is the same stuff that they know as well.
Right.
It's just like a little cultured because of our parents.
I can understand that.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
I mean, I would think African Americans got the most influential culture in the world, to be honest with you, which is the hip hop culture. You know what I mean?
Fashion.
Yeah.
Fashion. And like if you go anywhere else in the world, you're gonna see some kind of American culture in it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I find it crazy that people say they don't got no culture.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what do you mean by that? Like,
When I think of culture, I usually think of certain aspects like food, language, dance and art, music, and each one of those categories, I can name something specific to Black Americans that they have contributed in one way or the other. That's specific.
People don't make their marketing schemes based off what Black people would buy or watch.
I mean, that's true. So when I hear people say that, it's crazy. And even when I hear like African parents say that, it very much sounds like the same rhetoric that a white person would tell their kids. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't marry that black guy. Like, he's ratchet, they ghetto, this, that, and the third. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's crazy to hear other black people, not just black Americans, but just black people in general, have that type of like rhetoric towards each other. I heard.
Okay, as a certified African Niger babe, I'm gonna tell you why. So disclaimer, for me, I don't have any preference. As long as I meet somebody that I vibe with, that loves me and has everything, I'm good to go. But number one, we like somebody that we can relate with. Like, I joke with you, I give you a sign, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of black Americans cannot relate to us because of different backgrounds, which is understandable. But two, and the most important thing, main thing is that us African girls, we're used to being taken care of by our men. Like, the men do everything, they take care of us, we don't have to worry about money. But a lot of black Americans feel that we have to go 50-50 on things, like the woman and men has to share equally. But that's not how we're brought up. We weren't raised like that, so we're not used to that lifestyle. So we have to go for people who understand how things work here. Sorry.
Is this true, family? I'm noticing that a lot of people from the diaspora, Caribbeans and Africans, are putting out that information that black men are not providers or black Americans are not providers. That's what she's speaking to in this situation, that men from the Caribbean and Africa provide. Well, I don't know how they could not see all the black Americans that are hardworking, that are dedicated to their families and get up and provide for them on a daily basis. Now, is there some slipping? Of course. But I don't know how they could miss that. Even the next I'm going to put on here, Akon, he's also mentioning something similar to that. In Africa, they're used to the man providing and the women is still at home, so to speak. So is that an issue, family? Our women are out working, out having jobs in society, a lot of them doing better than the black men in terms of a salary. Is that an issue for us? Are we not providing? What do you think? Leave the comment below, and let's hear what Brother A.
African Americans are lazy, ghetto, loud, chronic complainers, never satisfied, and always blaming the white man for their problems. You know, the reason I can't get ahead is because the white man is trying to keep me down. Caribbean people are arrogant, entitled, coons. I dance with massa all day, yeah. Always trying to take jobs from American people. Disrespectful. And they love to kiss the white man's ass.
Yeah, the white man.
I have a lot to say about African folks.
No, we talk about the importance of black people, including black people in Africa, the importance of black people. Because when we talk about hidden colors, we talk about black people all over the world, which we're all over.
Yes.
We talk about the black presence. There's black people in Asia. There's black people in Polynesia. We talk about the importance of understanding that black people are global, including Africa. And we talk about the importance of us all getting on code with each other so that we can become an empowered group. So that's the thing we talk about.
Now, can we be...
He's kicking some facts right there, family. We definitely need to get on code because we are a melanated global family, and we need to know how to communicate with each other, get on code so both of us can benefit. Just as Tariq Nasheed pointed out, white folks are doing this globally, and we need to do the same. And not only are white folks doing it globally, Indian or West Indian people are doing it, Asians are doing it. So we need to get on code. But in order for us to get on code, we have to see each other as brothers and sisters, and we have to want for our brothers the same things we want for ourselves.
Is that a huge problem?
That's a problem, and the reason why it's a problem, because a lot of them, and we have to be very honest about this, they come from societies in their homeland where they're tribalistic, and they're not even on code with each other where they're from. They have a gazillion different tribes. They are very tribal, and they are very hostile towards each other as far as getting resources. And then when they come here, they look at us as another hostile tribe, but we don't look at them the same way. We don't have that type of tribalism over here with black people, foundational black Americans. All black people are just black. We welcome everybody. Our parents and grandparents don't say, stay away from those Jamaicans. Don't go to that Nigerian's house. We don't do that. because we understand that we're all treated as niggas under the system of white supremacy. So this is why we fought for everybody to come over here who was black. Remember, white people didn't want to let no other black people over here from the Caribbean or Africa. In the around 1915, 1916, they had a law that they were putting out here to stop black Caribbeans and black Africans from coming over here. It was black people on the grassroots fighting to thwart those laws. People like Booker T. Washington, other black people in Tuskegee fighting around 1915 saying, hey, we're not going to do that. We're not going to discriminate against those brothers and sisters who want to come over here. You're not doing it to white people, because they had just built the Panama Canal down there in South America, Central America. So after it was done, they're like, okay, where are all these people going to go? Because the US was helping to pay some of those immigrant migrants to go down there to build that Panama Canal. So now where they're going to go? They wanted to come here. They were like, no, we're not going to let that happen. Black people fought to get them here. That's how Marcus Garvey got here. Marcus Garvey got here a year later because the black grassroots was helping to fight for that. In the 1960s, the 1965 Immigration Act, it was black people fighting to get other African and Caribbeans over here in large numbers because we wanted them to act as reinforcement for us. We're fighting these white supremacists, we need some backup. So when people come over here and not get on code with us and get on code with the white supremacists, that is a problem.
Well, does it work like that?
In some cases it does, but you're gonna follow the instructions of your parents. If you got some parents who come from a background where they're somewhat hostile towards us, because we hear all the time how immigrant parents sit up here and say, okay, you go find you some white kids to kick it with. Stay away from them Akatas. They got all types of negative names that they have for foundational black Americans. Akata in East Africa, some of them call us Jareers and Abids, and the Caribbean, stay away from those Yankee kids. So these people got all types of weird words for us, and we're looking at them as just another black person. Hey, that's my brother. He's cool. He's dressed funny, and I'm gonna clown him for dressing funny. The nigga got on some bullshit clothes, but that's still the little homie, so we cool. So we can't have a one-sided Pan-Africanism. That's why there's this FBA movement going on now. Like, hey, we're gonna have to erase the board and let's start chalking up all of the people that's doing some shit that's constructive and the people that's doing things negatively. Because now for a long time, we've kind of ignored the people from the immigrant class who come over here and just kind of be funny style towards us because it didn't really affect us. Now we're in a position where some of these folks are getting elected to certain positions where they're calling shots on what's going to happen in our lives. So that's when we're saying, hey, wait, we can't have this person who looks like me, who looks black, but they're from another place, so they're not in the same realm as us. They think that there's something different from us, but they're acting as our representative. Hell, Barack Obama was that. He's not a foundational black American. Barack Obama's Kenyan and didn't do shit for black people.
Yeah.
You understand?
I don't think about it.
Nothing about him that's black American. And that, you know what, now I started to notice this about a decade ago. I said, wait a minute. I started looking at all the people that was connected to the White House who were in positions of power. And I said, wait a minute, these people, none of these people come from slave backgrounds in America. And I said, that can't be a coincidence. So Barack Obama, his family didn't descend from slaves. Eric Holder, he's from the Caribbean. His family didn't descend from slaves.
So there was a lot of slaves in the Caribbean.
No, I'm talking about here. Oh, yeah. Here. That's different.
Yeah.
Here,
no,
right here.
If you're from the Caribbean and you black, you most likely are a descendant of slaves.
Right, but I'm talking about here, a foundational black American. That's very important.
I think Colin Powell is from
He's Jamaican. He's Jamaican, right. It's very different. You connected to the soil here because your energy is going to be different. That's why when you look.
A couple points right here. Brother Tariq Nasheed is making a really good point. When you look at a lot of the people that they advance that are of dark melanated hues that they advance, a lot of people that they put into high places, they're usually going to be melanated immigrants from other country because they are going to toe the line and they know it 100%. But it's also a little bit deeper than that because there's a really nefarious scheme going on against the black Americans specifically, which people are unaware of. The biggest lie being told is that black Americans are slaves brought over here in the transatlantic slave trade of 1492. The record will show that that is not the case, that Africans or black Americans have been in this country and have been the indigenous people of this country since time immemorial. so that black Americans don't start making claims to the land which is theirs or going back after their birthright. They're doing everything they can to keep black Americans suppressed and other Caribbeans, immigrants, and people above them, and lying to the world about who these people truly are, that they're slaves from Africa. No, they're kings and queens from this ancient land called the Americas. So he's right on point about that in terms of what they're doing to use other ethnic groups that look like us but that don't think like black Americans to suppress and hold and keep black Americans down.
Yeah, that's a good. I'd agree also. I don't believe that Pan-Africanism would work, especially if we go back to one of the pioneers, somebody by the name of King Alfred Sam, if I remember right. He came over to America telling people, the black Americans, that there's diamonds all in the rivers and such like that. One group ended up having a voyage over there. Then on the second group, it collapsed. And then nobody knew what happened to him. He took all the resources and he just went off in the mist. And to this day, people have speculations of where he's at, but they don't actually have concrete evidence now. So Pan-Africanism, for the most part, have had a shaky start even since its inception.
Okay. As far as the issues go, I think to me personally, as a foundational black American, it boils down to the lack of respect. I don't feel like we receive as black Americans or foundational black Americans, people whose ancestors goes back to slavery, the proper respect we deserve for, essentially paving the way for a lot of our immigrant brothers and sisters from the islands, from Africa, to come here and to benefit off what we've done. Even one of the terms we always hearing is this kind of sarcastic, what is black American culture? Or it's westernized culture. I think our culture has become so large and we've been so open with it. It's just American culture at this point. But people forget when you trace back that origin of whether it's hip hop, whether it's jazz. We even reading today, a brother by the name of Robert Bogle created the early day catering services. But when people think of catering now, it's just so mainstream that, nobody gives us credit for it. So I think it's that lack of respect when we hear from our brothers and sisters who come over from the diaspora, from the Caribbean, from Africa, that really kind of rubs us the wrong way. And for the longest, I think we, more than any other group, have been told, do the Pan-African thing. Hey, don't talk about it, because if you talk about it, it's going to be seen as division. And a lot of black Americans now at this point are just saying, nah, bro, we got to talk about it. And that's why I'm, glad you're having this conversation tonight. We got to put it on Front Street so we can come to some type of solution, because it is a problem. It is a problem, and it's getting worse and worse, especially in the social media era, where everybody has an opinion, everybody has a camera, and I think that's what it boils down to: the lack of respect for me as a foundational black American for what my ancestors did.
I echo this brother's sentiments, and I think a lot of black Americans feel the exact same way, knowing that our ancestry is in this land. And that we paved the way as black Americans in terms of our strength, our resilience, our willingness to overcome, our ability to build, to create plumbing, build houses, be architects, engineers, develop equipment, machineries, tools. This is what black Americans did to move this country forward and to pave the way. And even went through periods of time where we fought literally with the American government in their not wanting melanated people from the diaspora to come over here. So I echo his sentiments on the disrespect is truly there. How dare you come into our ancient land? We are the indigenous people of the land. It's not our fault that you've been lied to, that we are slaves brought from your country. Although there are some who were. There were some blacks that were transported around during the transatlantic slave trade, but don't let them in any way, shape, or form make you think that that is how the melanated brothers and sisters, the black Americans, got here in the first place. We were already here, and I'm about to show you a little something that's going to bring that home too. There's always little nuggets that they put out there, and we're going to throw one at you.
All right, family, I want to show y'all a gem that was dropped in the movie Roots. when Fiddler was talking to other slaves, and he made a statement that said, y'all have never seen an African before. Watch this gem. Watch.
Come here, let me show you something. This here is a Guinea man, an African. They catch him running through the woods in Guinea. My Reynolds brought him right off the ship. And you keep away from it now, because he's a wild African. Oh yeah, he a bobcat for sure. Now some of you ain't never seen no African before, so you just listen to old fiddlers now. This here Guinea man don't know English talking, so I'll be the one teaching him what it is he got to know.
You see that? They dropped the gem. He said, y'all ain't never seen no Africans before. It's over. Peace.
Well, I kind of want to see this play out, but what I will say is this: I think that to answer the question of why do I think we have these issues, I think it always stems back to white supremacy, and white supremacy is a global project, and I think that the reason why we have such division within the Black diaspora is because how we have internalized white supremacy. Specifically, I think that within this diaspora wars within the Black community, it has been, I kind of put the blame on each person. So I do agree with what Chase was saying when he said that a lot of people, a lot of Black migrants in America do not have respect for foundational Black Americans. I definitely do agree with that. I've done a few studies where when Caribbean people, because I am Caribbean, I could, speak on it, and I've done heavy research on it as well. But a lot of times when Caribbean people do come to America, they downplay the effects of race, and they kind of tell Black Americans that that they're lazy, or that they what's something else they say? They said that a lot of Black Americans are lazy, or that they speak about race too much, and that they just work hard so that you can benefit from the American pie, or that you can have social mobility just like anyone else. So it's essentially telling Black Americans that race does not matter in the ways that they make it seem that it does. But the funny thing is that when you actually do the research, the longer that West Indian people or Caribbean people stay in America, and they're treated the same way by white people, then after they learn why Black Americans are speaking about race in the ways that they are, and why they act, and why their activism looks the way that it does. But then there's so many things that go into that, because Black people in the Caribbean, they're not facing white supremacy in the same ways that Black Americans are. Because Black people in the Caribbean and Black people who are born on the continent of Africa, they're living in spaces where the majority is Black, right? So the type of white supremacy that they're facing is more so a historical colonial white supremacy that they internalize. So like you see like a lot of colorism in West Indian / Caribbean communities. You would see a lot of colorism in African communities. So the white supremacy that Black people face outside of America is a lot different than the white supremacy that Black Americans face, because Black Americans are facing a white supremacy that's coming from a white majority. So it's a lot more violent. It's a lot more
systemic.
Yeah, it's a lot more systemic and institutional, right? So I think that that has to be factored in to why. To why things look the way that it does. But to go back to Chase's point, I think that we have to do a better job as West Indian people, as West Indian Caribbean people, and also as Africans, in respecting the path that African Americans have paid for us in this country, because they have, and they did. However, Black Americans do, what I will say is that Black Americans do sometimes they internalize white supremacy as well in the ways that they think about Africa and the ways that they think about West Indian people as well. So
okay, when we crack jokes, we'll crack jokes on you, and then the next day we'll be like, hey, you trying to go hoop? Hey, you trying to go do that? When y'all are crack jokes, and I use that with air quotes, y'all are crack jokes, and then y'all will start having heavy disdain for us. And I ain't saying all, but you'll have a group that have heavy disdain for us, that have anger towards us, and then they'll start trying to pass laws, or they'll start having these different talking points. Matter of fact, Y'all actually take our stereotypes and make jokes about it. We're not doing the whole negative stereotype of the baby, the child with the grown out stomach. We're not doing that and trying to make white folks laugh. For instance, the first the first one they say is the first black celebrity in America was Stephen Fetchit. Stephen Fetchit is Bahamian Jamaican, if I remember right, and he was doing what his rendition of how Black Americans talk and how we act. You start looking at it from the Vine era. You had people like King Batch, Water Malone, Purple Drink. These are people who aren't Black Americans who are doing the negative stereotypes of Black Americans to get white folks to laugh. We don't do that. What we do, we'll crack jokes with you. We'll crack jokes on you, but then we'll show you love. We'll be like, hey, you want to come eat with us? Some of y'all will hold that internalized hate because we crack jokes on you, because we know Black Americans crack jokes better than anyone. And y'all will take that internalized hate, and then y'all will go on these different networks and start saying, well, as a child, they called me an African booty scratcher. Well, like I said, I got called all the different names. People made fun of how my lips was. People made fun of how my nose was. I learned how to crack jokes back. Some of y'all don't learn that, and then some of y'all internalize that hate.
Learn in terms, and you are disputing. You are saying Akata does not mean cotton picker. It is not an ethnic slur. That is what you're saying.
I'm saying it's not. It doesn't mean a cotton picker. It's just a word to describe a cat that is away from home. And the reason, and it's not specifically used for just African Americans, because a lot of my cousins were born and raised in America. Their parents, my uncles, call them Akata because they don't know the African culture like that to the core compared to somebody from Africa. So it's just a word to describe someone who is part of a group, but has kind of like, it's away. So a cat that has ran away from home or gone away from home. And so because African Americans are, I guess, epitome of that, based on history, Africans just use that to describe, oh, they're like us, but they're not quite like us because they were taken away from home. So that is how the term came about to be.
Is it an ethnic slur?
Yeah, from the Yoruba language, I believe, in Nigeria. And then Africans, the whole of Africa just kind of like adopted the word and used it to describe African Americans or anyone who is away from home.
And can I say something real quick?
Sure.
I was just gonna say, I dated a Nigerian as well in college, and she said it means wild one or something like that. But the problem is, like we always say, as foundational Black Americans, it's always used in a negative light. It's never, look at that Akata who just became a doctor. Look at that Akata who just invented that. It's always, those Akatas are drug dealers. Those Akatas are lazy. It's always so the bottom line is, when we hear it, it's always in a negative stereotype. And I've heard it from adults.
It could be.
I've never heard, and let me just say this real quick, sister. I've never heard a foundational Black American who was grown call somebody an African booty scratcher. I hear that from little kids in our neighborhood. After you graduate from elementary school, that's a little kid's joke. I hear adults saying Akata regularly. I hear people from the Caribbean saying Yankee regularly. That's part of y'all culture. So that's what I would say in response to that. But I respect what the sister's saying.
And y'all got a song out there called "Stay Away from the Akatas." That
I was just saying that there's a whole song.
Right.
So it's like, what? Whoa! How did we progress to a song? Like, what did we do?
It could just be. It could be context like, hey, you conversating with your mom, like, oh, your friend. Oh, I was hanging out with this guy. I'm really feeling him. Or they'll be like, oh, is he African or Akata? Like, it's just like, is he? That just it's never used in the back in the back. Well, not only in that way. It generally just means
it seems to be used in a negative way.
That sounds like some hard wash.
And then I also want to say that I don't hear y'all use it for Caribbean ever. Y'all use it for
because Caribbeans.
No, because away from home.
Because like I said, Caribbeans, they have. I don't know why they don't use it for Caribbeans, so I'm never going to try to open my mouth and try to.
They ain't Black Americans. That's why.
That's why I know they.
Oh, I was just gonna say real quick. Foundational Black Americans have always bigged up the diaspora. There is not one historically black college. Hold on. There's not one historically black college that doesn't teach Africana studies. You have so many foundational Black Americans becoming doctorates in their master's.
Oh, we can answer that for sure.
Of course, if you guys are gonna learn in the historically Black culture, of course you're gonna learn about your ancestors and where you're from. You guys should be absolutely proud of that. What else are you gonna learn? Asian community?
Hold on,
right now. Hold on.
I was saying that we big up and we talk about classical African civilizations all the time. We got Dr. Yosef Ben Yuckerman. He came over here. A lot of people know about him because foundational Black Americans recording him, going to his lectures, and kept that alive. Brother by the name of Clemson Brown. Dr. Ivan Ben Sertima. Your scholars come over here and we big them up. We sell out their lectures. We always have done this. There's not a one HBCU that you can go to that they're not teaching Africana studies. So like this whole thing that we were talking down on Africa.
Every human being on the planet Earth has 256 great grandparents. How many of those 256 for you are Native Americans?
All of them.
And you know this how?
Because can't nobody prove that we came
No. Don't tell me what nobody can prove. No.
My grandmother told me.
How does Nikki?
I came from Africa.
Do you have the name?
I came from a country. I know
the name Nakia is pretty African.
So basically, you're Native American because nobody can prove you're not.
I'm indigenous to this land. This is my
But I'm not going to make that claim. You stated that I'm working with white folks, and you can't prove that.
You just said you got white sympathy. You just said that.
What the f does that mean? It's white people who sympathize.
What do you mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? If you're telling me that you got a problem with Africans, but you ain't got a problem with white folks, then you're not really committed to liberation, brother.
Pan-African. You guys are not serious. What are you talking about? Have the same
brother.
For European.
No, but I respect you, brother. We still brothers. All right.
Yeah. We still brothers. I think we just got different ideologies. So if you're talking about,
and we can respect that, and I can respect that.
Yeah, like you
but
gotta respect
it's hard to be at peace with an ideology based on the division of African people.
See, so look, when it comes to unity, right? Like if I could accept the fact that I'm a different African, right, or I'm a
how you different, brother?
Listen,
because the white man put chains on you, so now your genetics and everything is altered.
Prince, if you're not going to recognize, you just recognize all.
Why are you giving a white man so much power?
Yo, you just recognize all these Africans with different cultural views based on your American experience.
Yes, but it ain't based on slavery because all of them was enslaved. The Haitians wasn't enslaved. The Cubans wasn't enslaved. The Jamaicans. I'm not talking about no Jamaican history based on slavery.
Apparently,
I'm talking about based on a unique culture that grew out of their experience.
So
the freedman ideology is based on what the white man called you, what the white man did to you, what the white man thinks of you, and ultimately what you want the white man to do for you. That's why I have a problem with your ideology.
So listen, like you just gave Africa a lot of grace when you recognized that.
He said a lot of grace. That's my mother. What you talking about? Your mother too.
You said that they're impacted by colonial oppression. Now you can't. You didn't give African Americans, Black Americans. Let's say what you say, American Africans, that same grace. You not recognizing.
What are you talking? No. I'm giving our people the same grace. I'm not giving your organization's platform the same grace.
No, you got
because I do not think you should be forging. I do not think you should be forging a movement. I don't think you should be forging a movement that identifies with your oppressor, your oppressor's territory, or your oppressor's ideology, and that's what you're doing. There's nothing authentic.
Say that, Umar. That's the problem. So that's the
you're reacting to white power.
That's the
okay. Let me ask you this last question. What?
That's absolutely ridiculous that he would reference our ancient land as the white man's territory. He is very much aware of them telling their story of them coming over here. So he knows this is not the white man's territory. This is not the white man's land because he don't told you how he got over here. So this is absolutely asinine for him to even make this statement. And it's absolutely ridiculous the link that he's willing to go to try to hold on to Pan-Africanism as opposed to listening to what the sister has to say And the reality is, we know that we can trace our ancestry back on this land. Just because he's not aware of it, that's not our fault. That's his fault.
Okay, so me personally, I am against reparations. Okay, I don't believe that we need the white man to give us anything when we have our own land, and this is our land, and we can get it right here out the mud like we've been doing it, like our ancestors did it, and everything else. We had segregation, we didn't need the white man. We had a bunch of stuff, and we never had it. We was getting it before they came, and we can get it when they leave. So I'm against reparations. I really just want them to leave us the hell alone. Just leave us alone, because we have shown, if you leave us alone and leave us by ourselves, we will rise. We will build the banks, we'll build the Wall Street, the jewelry stores, we'll get the oil, the cotton, the tobacco, and we'll get everything we need. So we don't need a European, a Chinese, a African, a Mexican, or nothing can to help us build what we need to build. So I'm not for reparations. I don't need no green dollars. We can get it out the mud ourselves. So I'm against that, because when they give you something, they want something in return. And that's how we got in this problem in the first place. That's what the welfare system was all about, that we chose to get into back when the 60s and the 60s and stuff like that. So I'm against that. But what I am going to say, as far as these new groups that's trying to build this about being native to the land, right now we're just finding out the truth of who we are. And so that's the first thing. So we healing from
who
that
are we?
alone.
What is this truth now? Who are we?
The truth is, like your grandmama told you when you asked her where y'all was from, she didn't say Africa. She said she was from right here. Like your great-great-grandmama told you, you guys are from right here. Because I'm gonna tell you something.
Mine said I was from Africa.
Why don't
well,
we
if
just
you
do?
from Africa,
Why don't we just do?
Well,
wait. We ain't got to argue
if
that.
no,
Why don't you just do a DNA test and see if New Jersey come up in your blood sample?
Oh, baby, let me tell you something. What's going to happen? I'm going to tell you something, Dr. Umar Johnson. What's going to happen is,
Well, here's the
when you
difference,
do that
Nakia.
DNA test, when
So
you
let
do
me
that
ask you a
fake
question. Let
DNA
me ask you a
test,
question, Nakia.
when you do that fake DNA test, hold on, wait a minute. Let me answer your question.
Go
When
ahead,
you do
go
that fake DNA test, what's going to come up is a country that just got named in 1960. They're going to say Nigeria and Ghana and West Africa, and these places were just called these in the 60s. Before that,
but what
was
about
West
the
Africa
kingdoms
called?
that existed where
What
those
was
countries are?
what was those kingdoms before
what
then?
about the kingdoms that
What was those
existed?
kingdoms? They're not putting those
countries?
kingdoms on their DNA test. They're putting that country's name, and that country wasn't named
But
that
the
back in
samples
1800.
It's about
of the people in those areas, listen, they carved up Africa. They did not mix up Africa. So the people who existed in that area of land that is now called Nigeria, all of those kingdoms are still there. They're
Those people
still there.
but those people
They're
immigrated from
still
there. Let me
there.
tell you
And
something.
those, no.
Colonization.
They're
Okay.
still there. So if they tell you you're Igbo, the Igbo kingdom is still there. Yes, it's a part of Nigeria, but it is still geopolitically where it was before the white man showed up in Africa. So that does not
we go with that
dismiss
narrative.
the authentic. No, but wait. So let me ask you this. Stay with me.
Okay.
You have 256 seven times great grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
Every human being on the planet Earth has 256 great grandparents.
Uh-huh.
How many of those 256 for you are Native Americans?
All of them.
And you know this how?
Because can't nobody prove that we
No.
came from Africa.
Don't tell me what nobody can't prove. No.
Because my grandmother told me so. How can you prove I came from Africa?
So do you have the
tell me I
names?
came from a country I know
The name
nothing
Nakia
about.
is pretty African.
So basically, you're Native American because nobody can prove you're not.
I'm indigenous to this land. This is my
But the only way you can prove you're indigenous to this land is to give me the names of your 256 seven times great grandparents. But you don't know a single name. Nakia, you don't know a single name. Do you see how ignorant that is?
No, but prove to me they African though. Okay, so prove to me my 256 is African then. So you prove it that they African.
Okay, I'm gonna prove it. This is what I want you to do for me. Just do this one thing for me. Get me the 16 names of your great grandparents, and I'll prove you African.
Okay, all right, I will give you that, and I'll get that.
Give me that. I will prove to you. Because the point that you indigenous Negroes keep missing is even the Native Americans are a mixed race African people.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
the point that y'all missing. The first people in this country were African people.
Okay,
The people
listen,
that
Dr.
you
Umar.
call native
Dr.
came
Umar.
over here later and mixed with the original Africans who came here.
Okay, Dr.
So when
Umar,
you
listen to
say
this.
you are indigenous, you know what you're saying? All you're admitting is that you are an African from an earlier group of immigrants from the mother continent. That's
And when you
all
say
you're
you
saying.
African, you're saying you're an immigrant. When you say you African, that means that I am not from this land. When you say you are
So
an
if
African American, you're calling yourself an immigrant, which says that you have
No, you're
no
missing
right.
the whole point.
You have no right to this land. I am not going to call.
I am an African, and my people are the first people to populate every land on this planet. I am the first in Europe. I am the first in America. I am the first in Asia. I am the first in the South Pacific. I am the first everywhere. Yes, I immigrated from Africa. You damn right. And I don't have a problem with that because Africa is the ancestral, spiritual, cultural, and historical homeland of my people. So yes, I am an African, but everywhere else I got there from Africa. And that's what you self-hating indigenous freedmen, ADOS, FBA, and everything else don't want to admit. You're trying to run away from being black. Your movement is based on self-hatred and the love of
I
white
often
folks.
say then that the destiny of the white child, by the very nature of the racial status quo today, is conservative. And the destiny of the black child, based on the same racial status quo, by its very nature, must be what? Revolutionary. It's got to be. In other words, the whites who have all of the money and have all of the power, military advantage, economic advantage, social advantage, cultural advantage, all of the other advantages we talk about, they must be educated to maintain and advance those advantages. Therefore, their education is what? Fundamentally conservative. To hold on to what they got. You understand? That's why you can't give your children the same education as white children. They're not in the same place. What are they conserving? Their deprivation? Yeah. And in a sense, we are being educated to conserve our deprivation and to perpetuate our oppression. When you go around this world and you tell me every African nation that you visit, whether it is in the Caribbean, Central or South America, or on the African continent itself, you see African people at the bottom of social, economic, and other ladders. Even in their own countries, other groups are stacked on top of them, one right after the other. The same thing that Marcus Garvey saw when he moved around the world. How can you say your children must have the same education as a white child? When you tell me that the wealth of the world is located on the African continent and located in the lands of non-whites, when you tell me that Japan, which has no natural resources at all, and yet is seen as one of the richest and most powerful nations on earth, that you want your children to have the same education, you have to be out of your minds. Some of you sit here and you innocently talk about, I want to be equal. That's all I want. I want to be equal. Do you know what? That's a revolutionary statement, you know that. A lot of people don't recognize that. They think they're non-revolutionary, you know. They think revolutionaries are people who want to shoot and fight. And so now we just wanted everybody to be the same. Do you know what you're saying? Do you know the tremendous amount of transference of wealth that must take place for black folk to be equal with white folk? Yeah. The tremendous control over resources, the tremendous ownership of real estate in this country, the real ownership of the means of production. Are you really talking about equality? You can't be. And so if you start to realize what you're saying when you say that you just want to be equal and you want all people to be the same, you'd realize that you are a revolutionary and you're making a revolutionary statement. Because for black people to be equal in this country will call for a major reconstruction and a major reorganization of this nation. You have to understand that. You know, in New York, they're asking blacks who are fighting the Jews in Crown Heights, how are we going to reduce racial tension? You know, and they keep pushing them, and I wish they would ask me that. I'm not here to reduce racial tension. I'm here to increase it. I bring not peace, but what? A sword. Because in a city, as cities all across this country, where blacks don't even own their own communities, where they only spend a nickel out of every dollar they have with themselves, there cannot be racial peace and harmony until that's changed around. And there's going to be some racial turmoil while we change it around. It's got to be. We got to get ready for another 10 or 15 or 20 years of racial tension. Because it's going to take that for us to gain, if you want to call it, equality in the system. You know, you have some groups, when we were picketing stores and so forth, after they had insulted some of our women, as you're familiar with out here, well, why don't you get your own stores? And you have to remind them, but you really don't mean that. You're just trying to put me down. Because if I own my own store, how would you make a living? So in a sense, you're going to object just as much to me owning my own as you're objecting to me now picketing yours. Because in the long run, your wealth depends on my not owning something. And therefore, when I start owning, you're going to have another reason to fight me. So let's get used to tension. You're going to catch hell one way or the other. So you may as well catch it in the right way. This is why I talk to black psychologists who get into these useless arguments with Europeans about the cultural bias of intelligence tests. As you must understand, it's not about cultural bias. It's not about the test at all. It's about power and the rationalization of oppression and control. As soon as you prove to them that you are as smart or smarter than they are still going to do what? Kill you. Of course. This is the way people act in real life. You get rid of your what? Your rivals. So the issue is not, right now they say we're keeping you down because you're too dumb, right? But then when you go the other way, we got to get rid of you because you threaten our way of life and our economy. So you may as well get intelligent and get ready and get the battle on, because either way, you're not. This is what it's about.
Step forward if you agree. Slavery affected my family.
Yeah, I mean, that's just evident in my last name, King. I mean, that's the brand of the slave owner that put that name on my family all those years ago, and I'm still wearing it in those ways, along with the compounded, economic disparity, social disparity, mental trauma, all of that. I mean, it's tethered forever.
So to go back to slavery and talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, it has never stopped. So there is no post. What my great-grandparents were teaching my grandparents, who taught my mother, who taught me, came from what they learned through slavery. So there's a lot of fear, a lot of insecurity, a fear of society, a fear of law enforcement. So slavery has made a major impact where the low self-esteem is consistently reoccurring. I think for me, growing up in Los Angeles, California, in the early 1960s, there was a stereotype that I didn't want to be black. I didn't want to be African because we come from Africa or we're slaves. So I want to be a Chinese boy. I want to be Bruce Lee. So growing up like that, I didn't like myself and who I was. I didn't like the color of my skin or the way that I spoke. So I emulated other people. I wanted to be something that I was not.
It's very saddening when you can literally only go back a couple generations and then it's like the documents just don't exist. There's no record. It's like, you know, my family has completely been erased. In that same point too, in the time that we've been here, we've created an incredible culture and we have so many things to be proud of. And I always reframe the narrative myself and I speak of my ancestors that were enslaved as, you know, doctors and healers. And it's like, you know, we were taken because we were talented, right. You know, because we had skills to offer. And we built this country, so.
And still building.
And still building, that's something to take pride in, so.
Can they disagree a step forward?
Slavery didn't affect my family, but we did suffer a different type of slavery back home. Like we went through colonization. Like I am Bamileke, there was a massacre of Bamileke. You guys can like look it up. They killed like more than 300,000 of my people because we didn't want to assimilate to the French culture. But it's still nothing compared to what you guys' ancestors like been through, you know?
I wouldn't want to minimize that pain though. What you just said hurt me. That 300,000 people were killed because they would not conform to the colonization of the French people. So that is just as painful and hurtful as the trauma that we suffered here in America.
I can't share the same experience that you have went through and your family, even though we also had our own type of slavery. We had apartheid at the time, you know, where the Dutch people took over and they wanted to just have South Africa, Namibia, and I think other countries where we could only just speak Dutch. It's somehow still happening even now. There's like a place in South Africa where it's called Orania, you know, and it's just Dutch people there. No black person is even allowed there. So we still somehow feel that oppression even now, but it's nothing compared to what your ancestral history, you know, has gone through. I'm somehow happy that you guys have forgiven it, even though you haven't forgotten it. Have you forgiven it? Like your face, like.
Do that, but me personally, no, I haven't. But I want to work through the change. But no, I have not forgiven because it's a system that's still going on. And from what I'm hearing from you guys, there's a system that's still going on in Africa as well, and it's a war on us.
Racism is the main cause of poverty among black people in America.
Racism is a very big issue that, talking about it, I'm really trying to be careful to not like say anything that will be insensitive. If opportunity is right here, they will give it to people of other race than African American and Africans too. So if there's a job that maybe have math requirement, I feel like they'll pick an Asian person, or they believe, oh, African Americans will not dress appropriate, so they will pick another person. They will always like pick people that are not black over people that are black.
And I also think, I think the crucial like missing point when we talk about economic disparity, time is the most valuable currency. And if you have like a stock that's like the American dream is the stock, and you know, during all that time, all that asset, the American dream was appreciating, and you're not allowed to take out business loans, you're not allowed to read, you're not allowed to write, you had to first fight to become 3/5 of a citizen, then you got Jim Crow, and then you got everything else. It's like, you're now having to buy in at a price so high because the time is irreparable. You can't get that back. One black person today cannot in one lifetime achieve what generations of white families were able to do simply because they didn't have to compete with us to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. Like,
yeah, I was thinking, just like you said, from a historical standpoint, we start with slavery, then that's centuries, generations of stolen labor, like you said. Then we get into Jim Crow, which is just an extension of that. Then we have redlining, we have mass incarceration, we have events like the bombing of Tulsa and Rosewood in Florida, and all these different examples of our wealth being decimated. And I don't say that to come from a defeatist or a victim mindset, but I think if we just have an honest conversation about history and what we've gone through when we've been here, racism is definitely a big part of that. And there are a lot of successful Black Americans, a lot of millionaires, a lot of, you know, business owners, but they're exceptions for sure for a reason. And there's a big difference between income and wealth. I would like to challenge the ideal that African Americans are lazy or that we don't have a good work ethic. I think there's this perception that, you know, we're here, we're in America, how are we not doing better for ourselves? So.
I thought I was going to be the only one staying. I was going to be like, oh, I'm about to be like Kanye West. But okay, there's a lot of things we can use as an excuse to hold us back, to not to reach our potential. But it's up to us to look past that. You know, like me coming from Africa, I came here to better my life, my family. I'm the only one here. And since I have been here, there's a lot of bad things that happen to me. There's also a lot of good things that happen to me. Us African or African American, we need to like look past like racism and like just focus on our own goal. Like, what do we want to achieve? We need to stop using the word racism when we don't get something or when something don't go our way, and just keep trying. You know.
So let me jump in real quick. No disrespect, but racism exists, and I have to acknowledge it. And I can't just ignore it. But what I can do is not buy into the system. You know, if I want to do something, let me be the entrepreneur. What I believe happened in the 1960s is that we started looking for equal rights, to be equal with other people. And what we stopped doing, and I heard you talk about Tulsa, we stopped using the black-owned businesses. Now, because you guys got to understand, the Fair Housing Act in 1968, I'm 5 years old. That's when we could move off the east side of LA and move into other subcultures. So what I wanted to do at 8 years old was go to IHOP. I didn't want to go to the Ma and Pa restaurant anymore. I want to go to, let's go eat at the hotels. So what we did is stop supporting each other and started supporting corporate America. So the racism plays a major part, but we don't have to buy into it.
I've been waiting to disagree with you, my brother. I'm waiting patiently. The thing is, even though I want to disagree with you, I get where you're coming from. When I see black people talking about racism, all that stuff, I'm like, what is wrong with these people? You guys have food, you have EBT, all these things, and you're here shouting about somebody is racist too. Just leave that person and move on. I feel that way. Like, why are they always like complaining? But when Black Lives Matters started happening, like, I sat down, I said, I need to actually know why these people are pained. And if we look at the history, what they've done to them, like if you actually sit down, watch some documentaries, how they were maltreated, I don't think if I'm actually born, I will forgive those people. I don't care. It's easier for us Africans that were raised in Africa to feel like they're complaining because we were raised through struggle. Like I barely even have water, and you have water, you're complaining. But then it's not about the basic necessity or about how we are raised. We are raised like, I don't want to say way better. We might not have resources, but there are some way, like our own people will not look down on us or put us behind. So it's in they're nurtured that way. Like they just can't overlook it. And if you sit down and watch everything that the forefathers have been through for you, I changed my mind. No, they need to be angry. However, they should still move forward.
I mean, we have police brutality back home too.
True.
We have, like, if you go to Cameroon and then you see how the police officer treat us, and they're black just like us, you're not even gonna believe it, you know. And in Cameroon we have this thing. Have you guys heard of the word like tribalism? So
yeah, it happens in Nigeria.
Yeah, so we do get oppressed too. And
I agree.
So when I'm saying like we need to like look past that, I'm not saying forget what happened to you guys or me. At the end of the day, we cannot just sit and just grieve on the past. We have to be able to move on, but not forget. If I could choose a place to live, it would obviously be my country. I love my country, but right now, my country is not the best choice for me. There's a little genocide going on in Cameroon right now. So many innocent lives are being taken. If I was still in my country, the opportunity that I have here, I would have.
I was alive when hip hop started, and it was during a time where people rapped about what they saw, what they wanted in life. And then it became where people rapped about what they had been through, what they had gotten over, you know, used to sell drugs, used to hurt people, but now this is who they are. And I think it's gotten into now, and in our day and age now, it's where people are glorifying and wanting to pretend that these are the things that they do on a daily basis when it's not. So it went from storytelling to now really it's truly storytelling, but it's unhealthy for our culture.
I don't want to on my radio and all I'm hearing is, I put a bullet in it, something. Like, I'm like, that's what you would do? No, like, sorry. And then it's like, it's all about like, talking about female body type, the booty, the thing, like, don't talk about my booty like that. So I don't want to listen to something that portray me as a female that way, or something that is talking about how you put bullets in my head. Like, if you actually do not come to America and see for yourself, you would think that most African Americans are carrying guns around and they just shoot randomly, or they just grab your ass or something like that. That's the way the music portray them. And music is a very important element in our society because it influences a lot of people, both young and adult, and then they kind of see all those stuff and they act like that, even though that's not what they really want to be. They act like that and behave like that. Like if all these rappers are your role model, then you want to be like them. You want to be cool too. So in the end, it's about like the people that are packaging the music, and sometimes about trend is what people want to hear.
The American dream is only for white people.
I believe that the American dream is only for white people because it says equal. And when we talk about equal, there's no equality between the 1%, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Trumps, and the people who really run the media and things of that nature. So for black people growing up in America and living in America, we could become rich, we could become wealthy, but we are not on the equal playing field of white America. The system of white supremacy, which is in the law enforcement, which is in the judicial system, which is in the prison industrial association, also in the politics. We are not equal in any of those terms.
When I was back there and when you were speaking, I started thinking, like, could we ever actually, as black people, have the American dream here in America? And I don't know if we really can, I'm trying to be careful with my words, but I do think there needs to be a degree of separatism. Like, black people, we really need to have our own to fully take part in that dream.
This is their system. Yeah. Why would we dream of being equal in a system that wasn't designed for us?
The biggest cultural shock I saw coming here was definitely the lifestyle. Because the lifestyle I saw of America, especially Los Angeles, was portrayed as a very rich lifestyle. And of course, I came here as a student, and coming here, living here, and seeing the reality of it, seeing different homeless people, disadvantaged people, was really a cultural shock for me because I didn't expect to see that. And I guess also the way people were handling each other, because coming in as an African, I thought people were together. But since being here, I saw that there was a huge divide, or there is still a huge divide within the African American community themselves.
If he had stayed in South Africa, would he have the same opportunity that he had here?
No.
Like, so corporate is writing his check, but like us growing up, the reason we move here is because we don't have it better back home. Like for me, I'm the first person ever in my family in America. Everybody else is back home. Everybody's depending on me. All of them, my mom, she's dying to come here. Like, she's willing to do anything just for her to be in America. So for me, when I look at those like little things, I'm like, yeah, American dream is for everybody, Like, yeah, we might not have the same opportunity as the white people, but there's still that little chance that a lot of us back home are willing to take just to get here.
First.
As you guys know, I am from Richmond, Virginia. It was the capital of the Confederate. I have been brutally abused by the police there. Like, personally, I was at the river on the 4th of July. I don't smoke, I don't do none of that. The police come and arrest me because I look like a drug dealer. Like, they arrested me.
What? The stereotype?
Then when I was in high school, my senior year, my father went to jail over a car accident, and I was left alone at 17 years old. I was grateful. One of my teachers took me in and like raised me. I try to stay away from the police as much as possible.
When we take time to listen to each other's perspective, we'll realize that white supremacy is a global system, and many people of melanated descent across the globe are suffering from it. So we need to take the time to listen to each other, feel each other, understand each other, get on code, and see each other as brothers and sisters.
People are scared. There's horror stories about Africa that's out of this world. There's stories that you get on the plane, you get bit by a mosquito. If you're driving down the street, you're gonna get. There's horror stories that scared people from going to Africa before hip hop was around. And when I finally got there, you know, I didn't know what to expect. You know, you never gonna have enough security, so I didn't bring much. I probably brought one person with me. And, you know, brought my jury. If they're gonna take it, they're gonna take it, you know. It's theirs anyway. So I went there and I figured out there's been a lot of lies told to American people about what's going on over there. And one thing about us African Americans and Africans, we don't communicate. We don't talk. We don't see a reason to talk. We don't even get along. There's a lot of Africans that don't like African Americans at all. They look down on us. They got their own little racial names for us. You know, we've been pulled apart for years. So I mention a lot about Africa because, you know, when I grew up in a time like of Bob Marley was saying a lot of stuff. I wanted to know why he was talking about Africa Unite, and I wanted to know what Roots was about. So out of my own curiosity, I just started to learn stuff, and at that time, the 5% Nation was on the rise. So I got some of those lessons, and I couldn't keep up with it, so I just kept growing and growing. And my name is Arabic, Egyptian, Nasir, so that already made me start to dig into where we come from and why we're in the position we're at. But to get back to your question, man, people scared. They're scared to go over there, and they have horror stories, man. And I think some of those Africans need to make an effort to show us that when we come there, that we're gonna be all right. And I've been in Nigeria, and it almost made me cry to look at the conditions of most of the people there. And there's no connection. And we got a lot of work to do, so it's beyond hip hop, you know, but I think hip hop is an answer to get us to start communicating and start rebuilding our long lost family between Africa and America. I think this is the beginning. If you get more people like yourself coming over here, and you get those brothers over there to realize when we coming over here, we're making major moves, we're bringing serious artists to this place. We gotta change it. We got to change the way the conditions are in Africa. We got to. And hip-hop artists, we can start by raising some voice, but Nas can't go to South Africa and get 100,000 people like Bono. There's a lot of stories behind that to why he can and Nas can't. When Nas should be able to get 200,000 people to come out. Let me not shit on myself, because maybe I can get 300,000. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm gonna need y'all help. You know what I'm saying? I think we have to all take the responsibility to say, and we want to make a difference. Let's not talk about it, let's really be about it.
Assalamu alaikum. Mr. Moderator, our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, our friends and our enemies. Everybody is here. As many of you know, last March, when it was announced that I was no longer in the Black Muslim movement, it was pointed out that it was my intention to work among the 22 million non-Muslim Afro-Americans and to try and form some type of organization or create a situation where the young people, our young people, the students and others, could study the problems of our people for a period of time and then come up with a new analysis and give us some new ideas and some new suggestions as to how to approach a problem that too many other people had been playing around with for too long. and that we would have some kind of meeting and determine at a later date whether to form a black nationalist party or a black nationalist army. There have been many of our people across the country from all walks of life who have taken it upon themselves to try and pool their ideas and to come up with some kind of solution to the problem that confronts all of our people. And tonight we are here to try and get an understanding of what it is they've come up with. Also, recently, when I was blessed to make a trip or a pilgrimage, a religious pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca, where I met many people from all over the world, plus spent many weeks in Africa, trying to broaden my own scope and get more of an open mind to look at the problem as it actually is. One of the things that I realized, and I realized this even before going over there, was that our African brothers have gained their independence faster than you and I here in America have. They've also gained recognition and respect as human beings much faster than you and I. Just 10 years ago on the African continent, our people were colonized. They were suffering all forms of colonization, oppression, exploitation, degradation, humiliation, discrimination, and every other kind of Asian. And in a short time, they have gained more independence, more recognition, more respect as human beings than you and I have. And you and I live in a country which is supposed to be the citadel of education, freedom, justice, democracy, and all of those other pretty sounding words. So it was our intention to try and find out what was our African brothers doing to get results so that you and I could study what they had done and perhaps gain from that study or benefit from their experiences. And my traveling over there was designed to help to find out how. One of the first things that the independent African nations did was to form an organization called the Organization of African Unity. The purpose of our organization of Afro-American Unity, which has the same aim and objective, to fight whoever gets in our way. To bring about the complete independence of people of African descent here in the Western Hemisphere, and first here in the United States, and bring about the freedom of these people by any means necessary. That's our motto. The purpose of our organization is to start right here in Harlem, which has the largest concentration of people of African descent that exists anywhere on this earth. There are more Africans here in Harlem than exist in any city on the African continent, because that's what you and I are, Africans. The Charter of the United Nations, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Constitution of the United States, and the Bill of Rights are the principles in which we believe, and that these documents, if put into practice, represent the essence of mankind's hopes and good intentions, desirous that all Afro-American people and organizations should henceforth unite so that the welfare and well-being of our people will be assured. We are resolved to reinforce the common bond of purpose between our people by submerging all of our differences and establishing non-sectarian constructive programs for human rights. We hereby present this charter. Number one, the establishment. The Organization of Afro-American Unity shall include all people of African descent in the Western Hemisphere. In essence, what it is saying, instead of you and me running around here seeking allies in our struggle for freedom, in the Irish neighborhood or the Jewish neighborhood or the Italian neighborhood, we need to seek some allies among people who look something like we do. And once we get their allies, it's time out for you and me to stop running away from the wolf right into the arms of the fox, looking for some kind of help. That's a drag. Number two, self-defense. Since self-preservation is the first law of nature, we assert the Afro-American's right to self-defense. The Constitution of the United States of America clearly affirms the right of every American citizen to bear arms. And as Americans, we will not give up a single right guaranteed under the Constitution. The history of unpunished violence against our people clearly indicates that we must be prepared to defend ourselves, or we will continue to be a defenseless people at the mercy of a ruthless and violent racist mob.
I think that sums it up there, family. We have to have a global approach. Definitely has to be respect all across the board. I appreciate you for taking time to listen. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you on the next video. Peace.